that Java code that you just checked in, is it going to slow things down? Or do you think it's good? If you checked in the source code control, maybe somebody is already using that code and it's making their machine go slow. And oh my God, if you checked it into production, oh my gosh, maybe it's taking the whole system down. Who knows? So have you checked? Have you looked for any issues? So it takes a little bit of skill to learn how to troubleshoot Java performance. And this tool called the Java Analysis Workbench, okay, it's going to help you learn how to troubleshoot Java performance problems. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over this little page that'll get you started using the workbench. Okay, let's get started. So the agenda for today is right here. Okay, so we're going to start the workbench. And this is a Java load test in a box. So we have your own code, right? We're going to call that the system under test. And we have a load generator that applies the stress that your users normally stress out the system with. And then we've got some monitoring, some great monitoring from a tool called glowroot, glowroot.org. So we're going to start all of that, start all of those things. Then we're going to actually choose which code is getting loaded, right? And we have a nice Java annotation that lets you flag which code you want to load, okay? Then we're going to stop the workbench, like when you're finished, right? You don't want all that CPU consumption to be eating up your machine. And then we'll talk about what's next, okay? Let's get started. Okay, so as you can gather, you're going to need a Java JDK for this. And I've got one installed, and Java needs to be in the path. And you know Java's in the path, right? You go Java-version, and Java's right there, okay? So the next thing I want you to do is type Java JCMD, and it shows that there's just JCMD itself running. So no other Java processes running on my desktop, okay? So here's the wiki page I was talking about. And there are some prerequisites before you get started, okay? It shows how big of a machine you need to have, how many CPUs, how much RAM, how much disk space, and that you need Java installed. And then here's where the workbench comes in, okay? You're going to download the workbench from this URL here. Okay, can you see that? And then you're going to run java-jar, and then the name of the download. And it'll load and it'll get this nice success message in my great Star Wars font. Okay, so let's go do that. Okay, so again, JCMD, no other processes running. Let's go to this other window. Now I've already loaded the workbench, downloaded the workbench to this downloads folder. So java-jar. So here we are down here, right? Whoops. Here's where we're typing. Okay. And there it is. Okay, that's the full name. And notice this is a .zip and not a .jar. So I'm going to press enter. And there we are. Now this is the workbench that's starting up. And this is kind of the orchestrator of all these processes, right? It orchestrates the system under test and the load generator and the monitoring. And there it is. It's ready. See the big Star Wars font? Love it. Okay, so now we do JCMD again, and there it is. One process is up and running. So this is a little Spring Boot server, okay? And let's go look at the web page that it exposes right here. Okay, go to localhost 8675, like 8675309, right? Okay, so here it is. Press enter. And this is the workbench right here. So we're going to start our system under test. We're going to click right here to get it started. And what the heck? I'll move my mouse down here, and we're going to go ahead and start the load generator. I'll click here. So remember, we just had one process running up here, right? There it is right there. That's the workbench. So let's run this again. Whoa! Lots of processes running, right? Okay, this is your system under test. An H2 database gets launched here. A WireMock server gets launched here to pretend like it's your back end. And we've got monitor installed, okay? But you don't have to have JCMD to show you all that. You can look down here, and we've got little health detectors that show that all the parts of the system are up and running, okay? So let's go back to our little agenda. So we just did the java-jar thing, saw the big success message. I clicked the button to start the system under test. I clicked a button to start the load generator. Okay, now next, let's go look at the monitoring. Now I've got a special URL down here. Let me go grab it. Okay, can you see that? So here's the monitoring. Now the monitoring gets launched with the system under test. Whoops. Okay, so you can already see here that we're looking at the average response time for some load that's running, right? And this says we're looking at the number of milliseconds. So this code is running about 10 milliseconds per request. I'm sorry, it's running about 10 seconds per request. So let's go back to the workbench. Okay, so by default, the workbench starts a piece of default code that takes 10 seconds long for every request that's submitted, because we already started the load generator that's hitting the system with load. And here it is. I've got it selected. I've got a nice checkbox here, right? This checkbox indicates which code is running, okay? Actually, it's the combination of this checkbox and this radio button. So here we're getting data, and there's a back-end delay of 10 seconds, just like we saw the 10 seconds here in the monitoring tool, okay? So this is just the first taste of what it looks like to troubleshoot some Java performance. Okay, so once you're finished doing work, you don't want this thing eating up all the resources on your machine, so you got to shut it down. Okay, so let's go shut it all down. Let's go back to the workbench. Go back to the Start Stop tab. Right, we're right up here. Okay, and let's remove these checkboxes. Load is no longer being applied. And let's stop the system under test. Okay, it looks like the load generator, which is JMeter, is already stopped. And then we're waiting for these three processes to stop also. And again, so this is your system under test. This is where your code goes. H2 database, and that's WireMock. So now, all this should be stopped. Let's go confirm in JCMD. Okay, so let's give ourselves some clean space here. JCMD, and everything stopped except for the workbench, right? This line shows the workbench is still running. So let's go back to this. Let's go back to here, and I'm going to hit Control-C to stop everything. Okay, so there's lots more to do with this tool, so you can learn how to troubleshoot your own performance problems. So when you check in your code, you can have some comfort of whether you're going to take down the system or not. Okay, thanks for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.